It's like mom and dad made a baby and you're getting a base head baby brother. Hello and thank you for clicking on this video. I'll be talking about one of the most anticipated collaborations in the IEM world, and this is the Fat Freak and HBB Deuce, which is a 2DD IEM coming in at $240 US. It's one of the more expensive 2DD IEMs with that price tag, but it's from Fat Freak and HBB, so I'm curious to hear what they're bringing to the table. Just a quick disclaimer, I paid for this unit in full with my own money. However, as with any other reviews, all thoughts and opinions are my own and are not influenced by any parties. Let's talk about unboxing because finally, Fat Freak has a freaking box. I mean, it's very simple, but I'd rather have this than just getting it in a case. So this is a great first step for Fat Freak. Opening the sleeve reveals another box with Fat Freak's logo on it, and opening that, you'll be greeted by this striking red case that just catches your eye at first glance. Around the corners, they've tucked in some interchangeable ear tips, which are Tri-Clarion ear tips. There's also a few interchangeable terminations, the 3.5mm and also the 2.5mm balance termination. Fat Freak still showing love for the 2.5mm. There's also a 3.5 to 3.5 impedance adapter. The case itself is pretty much similar to the ones that came with the Maestro cases, where it's round and made out of metal. So you've got that unfortunate metal sound when you twist it. But it's not too loud or screechy, so I'm fine with that. Inside stores the cleaning tool, the IEM and the cable, and before we dive deeper into that, just going through some of the bonuses Fat Freak includes in the pre-order. So if you pre-ordered the Deuce, Fat Freak includes a free upgrade to their stock cable, but I'm not sure what the stock cable looks like. However, this is what they're calling the Silver Blood cable, which to be honest, looks more like a pairing for the Scarlett Mini with that blood red color that just pops out. It has this braided fabric-like material and the ear hook connection seems like an upgrade, but as an overall, the cable is just okay for me personally. It does feel lightweight, but I like something with a bit more heft, and it's probably just the nature of fabric working as cable sleeve, but it still looks the part and it does the job. And I said before, the perfect aesthetic pairing for the Scarlett Mini. Look at the blood, gang. The cable does have interchangeable terminations where you can swap out the stock 4.4mm with the other two terminations shown earlier. This red blood design theme is also carried to their impedance adapter, which Fat Freak is calling the Based Boost adapter. And this is a 4.4 to 4.4mm adapter, which is also included as part of the bonus accessory if you pre-order this IEM. So there's a few bonuses depending on your order. So the first 150 orders gets their name engraved on the case, which you saw my channel initials on it. Following few hundred up to 500 will get an upgrade ear tips, and another 500 after will get a baseball cap, which sounds really nice. I mean, I want to have the baseball cap, but the name engraving is still a nice touch. Before we talk about the design, just want to address something that I've been seeing lately that's overshadowing the release of this IEM. So there's been a lot of posts about delay in shipping of the Fat Freak Deuce, and while I feel Fat Freak has implemented procedures and measures over the years to make the process more seamless, Fat Freak should have expected that partnering with HBB would have brought in a lot of hype and attention to their latest release. But what I think they didn't expect was 6,000 orders, which is huge for any company, let alone a company with Fat Freak's size and scale. And they just got hit by a tsunami while expecting for a wave. Maybe they should have split the batches and have a target date for each batch to manage people's expectation on when they're going to receive their packages, like how DMS did with his Omega release, or with how Mod House Tungsten is being released. I'm not trying to make excuses for Fat Freak, and ultimately, while a huge congratulations are in order for the huge success of the Fat Freak Deuce, Fat Freak needs to sit down and work on a plan to improve their manufacturing, shipping, and handling speed, and most importantly, managing expectations. Alright, back to the real focus here, the Deuce. Talking about the design of this IEM, it's HBB and Fat Freak's logo in red against a marble-like black background. Very simple. The red looks really sleek, but from afar it does get lost in the faceplate design. It uses an all black resin shell as opposed to the translucent dark grey from the Maestro Mini. where you can sort of see the drivers, but on the Deuce it's pitch black. The size of the Deuce is surprisingly big for a double DD IEM. It's a lot wider, but it's also shorter in its depth, and it has a lot of contours to its body. Putting up the Maestro Mini as a comparison, you can see the size difference, but because of the size of the IEM, it fits very snug in your ears, and I'm surprised at the direction they went with the Deuce, having a much bigger size, but there must be a reason as to how it affects tuning and all, but most importantly, how does the size affect fit and comfort? And for my ears in particular, it feels like a custom IEM because the contours of this IEM fits my ears really well. So when it's in, it sits snug. However, due to its size, it may still not be suitable for people with smaller ears. The Maestro or Scarlett Mini's shape would appeal to more people, particularly ladies, due to its compact form factor. So your experience may vary for the Deuce depending on your ear size. So just exploring about sound, just talking about the stock tuning first, when you see Fat Freak and HBB's names together, you'd be thinking monstrous, thunderous, god level bass pound and slam and just blow your brains, ripping hearts out of your chest, ball busting bass impact. But the Deuce, to my surprise, went for a different direction instead for some parts. The sub bass is still classic Fat Freak, deep reaching rumble. Think of it like Deuce is laying a foundation for all your music where your tracks are going to be accompanied by the low end rumble or hum, and if you're into sub bass performance, the Deuce delivers and Fat Freak doesn't disappoint. However, I feel the Deuce is more sub bass focused rather than mid bass, because when it came to the mid bass, you can hear the weight and fullness of the bass notes, but you're not getting much of that impact and slam. So while the mid range is clear, similar to the Maestro and Scarlett Mini, the Deuce actually has the cleanest and clearest mid range out of all of them due to this tuning. Vocals take center stage, but this is an all-in-one kind of presentation where I'm getting the background music almost within the same plane as the vocals. The treble surprisingly retains its energy, but still being relatively smooth to my ears, so you're not getting that sparkle or treble bite that I saw some people associate with the Maestro Mini. There seems to be a gradual roll-off at the top end, so you're still getting what you need from the treble, attributing the sound clarity and providing some air-to-air instruments, but still being safe for treble-sensitive people. There's an overall sense of width to the presentation, and even though the bass is reaching deep, it doesn't have that 3D kind of sound, so the playing sounds flatter than it is deep, but imaging is surprisingly great on the Deuce because you're getting the vocals dead center, you're getting the distinction in the left and right channel, and the accompanying sub bass as the backdrop. The Deuce does struggle a little bit in retrieving some of the micro nuances in the track, which is pretty much expected with this amount of drivers and sound presentation, so they've done enough to allow some of the details to come through, but it's still limited, so don't be expecting this IEM to be a technical monster, which it isn't trying to be anyway. All in all, a very surprising yet pleasant sound performance from the Fat Freak Deuce. I was expecting something else, but what I got was a very clean sounding presentation with enough treble performance and a deep sounding rumble with a heavy bass note. However, my perception of what the Deuce is changed the moment I plugged the Deuce into the bass boost adapter. The expectation that was set earlier when I talked about the Deuce, it presented itself here because at first listen, all I could do was laugh in amusement because of how much more bass came through, and it came in such a ridiculous amount that it shocked me at first listen, but in a way where it's extremely fun to listen to. It's like they brought the entire frequency down by 1 or 2 dB and shifted all the focus to the lower regions, but you still get some sense of clarity from the other regions. But don't get me wrong, on the impedance adapter, bass comes first and foremost. I'm hearing bass details from tracks I never thought was there. Things that are supposed to be in the background, bass hits that are meant to be subtle in appearance, are all brought into focus. It's like in every track that I hear, I still hear the vocals front and center, but I can hear that hum in the background. It's like sharing the spotlight with the singer. Tracks like I Will Wait from Mumford & Sons, typically you hear the banjo, the staccato acoustic guitar. On the Deuce with the bass boost adapter is the drums and what sounds like double bass being the highlight rather than the banjo or the acoustic guitar. Even if it's not double bass, that's just telling you what is coming through in the track, which isn't typically known for bass feature. Any track you can think of, you're going to hear some form of bass coming through, one way or the other, and that is what the Fat Freak Deuce promises to deliver with the bass boost adapter, and it excels. Of course, I have to compare this against the bigger brothers in the Maestro and Scarlett Mini. Let's talk about them. I can understand why the Deuce was priced slightly lower, other than the fact it carried less drivers than both the Maestro and Scarlett Mini, because without the bass adapter, the bass performance from the Maestro Mini and Scarlett Mini is just on another level. On the bass boost adapter, then we have a different story here, because the Deuce goes toe-to-toe with its bigger brothers. It's almost a marriage between two, where it's sort of on the level of Scarlett Mini in terms of how much bass is coming through with the sub bass and mid bass, but having the clarity of the Maestro Mini. But both the Maestro Mini and Scarlett Mini is still a small step above in their own regard, especially in technical performance, and rightfully so. But that's also saying the Deuce is no slouch, and while it's playing catch up, it's not far behind, and at any point if the bass is too overpowering, you can still remove the adapter and get a very clean sounding presentation from the Deuce. So you're having the best of both worlds in a more affordable price tag compared to the Maestro and Scarlett Mini. The only other thing that is going against the Fat Freak Deuce compared to its bigger brothers would be the size, because if you have smaller ears, the Maestro Mini or the Scarlett Mini would be the obvious pick, because even though it fit my ears well and it was snug, I still think it might pose a problem for smaller ears. However, I think if you purchase the pre-order special for the Fat Freak Deuce, I feel you're getting a really good value with the bonus accessories. So just bringing in another 2DD IEM that was heavily focused on delivering bass, and it's also another collaboration with HBB. It's the QKZ HBB Hades, and while the Hades is a lot cheaper than the Deuce, in terms of sound performance, the Deuce simply floors the Hades. It's almost an unfair comparison, because all Hades does is deliver bass and nothing but. All other aspect of the frequency is pretty much overwhelmed by the abundance of bass from the Hades, and if that's what you're looking for, a sound that has nothing but bass, and you're on a budget, then sure, QKZ HBB Hades. But if you want to hear what music sounds like other than just having bass, then the Deuce is the better option by a huge mile. The Deuce still brings you a lot of bass, especially with the bass boost adapter, but it still does it in a way where the other aspect of the frequency can be heard. And if you're able to save a little bit more, I'd recommend the Fat Freak Deuce over the QKZ Hades. In fact, I'll go as far as to say the Deuce sets the bar for bass performance in a 2DD IEM setup, and I'm curious to see which IEM can take on the Deuce, because the Deuce is stellar. So in summary, I'm honestly very excited to see how Fat Freak is going to implement their new technology into their older lineup. Will we be seeing a Grand Maestro reawakened sometime down the line? Perhaps a Grand Scarlett or Scarlett SE? Either way, that's a separate conversation in itself, but what HBB and Fat Freak brought with the Deuce is really a feat of its own. Fat Freak still shows its competitors why they're still king when it comes to bass delivery in their IEMs. And in my opinion, everything else is just playing catch up to the Deuce, and the only step up would be in Fat Freak's own Maestro Mini or Scarlett Mini. Fat Freak dominates the bass space. If only they can improve on their back-end procedures, because with how promising the Deuce is, more opportunities are coming. But Fat Freak is hindered by their own capabilities to deliver the product in a prompt timeline, and I really hope they can implement something to change that. However, these are all based on one man's experience, and I'm curious to know yours. Will you be diving into the abyss with the Fat Freak HBB Deuce, or is there a 2DD bass hit IEM that you like better? Comment below and let me know, and with that all said, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see all of you in the next video.